Hello, and welcome to Here We Are, the mindful podcast for millennials, where it's all about remembering where we've been, knowing where we're going, and taking up space here in the present through the art of storytelling. I'm your host, Teka, and I will tie together the practice of presence, mental health, and faith nuggets, some life lessons too, using music and humor along the way. Whether sharing my own story or featuring a special guest, I hope we inspire you to take control of your life and take control of your story. I hope you receive all you need from today's episode, and remember, check the show notes for any links that we reference. You ready? Let's journey. All right, people. So today we have a special guest. We have my friend Shayla here with us. Hey, Shayla.
Hey, Teka.
I'm excited to have you here today. Shayla has a unique story to share with us. But before we even hop into that, I want to introduce you guys to her and kind of how we know each other. So if you want to share, Shayla, kind of how we got connected and how long it's been actually too.
Well, first of all, Teka, thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to share my story or what's happening in my life right now. But I actually met you about 5 years ago. We met through a national nonprofit organization. It was actually a rooftop members orientation, and that's how I met you there. And we have been friends. Like, our friendship has definitely journeyed. It's been a good friendship. And one of the reasons why I know it's been 5 years is because of I have seen your lock journey. So based on your locks, that's how I know how long it's been. But yeah, that's how I know you.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you, first of all, thank you for noticing my locks and my hang time. It's been a long 5 years, but the time has been flying by pretty quickly. But
absolutely.
I'm glad you brought up how we connected, because it's through a civil organization where we talk about a lot in that organization. Of course, civic and community involvement, professional development. We talk about how to stay fit. We talk about how to get out into the community and have a good time. It's a very well-rounded organization. So I'm glad that we met through that medium.
Yes.
But one of the things I noticed that we've been focusing on lately in the organization has been like professional and career development. Actually, wasn't the last meeting about your career and professional development? So all of that being said, it's pretty, I don't say coincidental. I want to say it's probably really pretty aligned that today we're going to be talking about your chapter regarding your career. And so tell us, because I don't want to kind of share your story for you, but I will preface this by saying to the listeners and watchers that typically, on the podcast, we're sharing maybe about somewhere that we've been, meaning a story from a chapter of our life in the past. What's unique about this episode is that Shayla is living this chapter right now, and she's going to share her experience in this chapter as it is happening. So bear with us, but also I'm really excited that you're bravely and vulnerably sharing how you're living in this chapter right now. So I will now turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about the space you're in and how you're doing.
Well, so right now I am experiencing a layoff. I got laid off from my job. It's been 5 days. And so I am in that space of, I'm laid off. What's happening? It's a different type of feeling. Unfortunately, it is a feeling. It's not the same feeling, but it's an experience I've experienced before. Unfortunately, this is my 4th time being laid off. 2nd time with the same company. And it's a different feeling because usually when you get laid off, you experience more negative emotions than positive. And for me, it wasn't necessarily a negative emotion. It was just like, oh, I got laid off before I could. I was laid off before I could leave the company on my own. So that's more or less where my negative emotion came from. So that's where I am right now. I'm in the process. I am in the process of layoff, which is technically redeployment based off of my company. And so in this 60-day time frame, which is what it is, my job is to find another job either within the company or outside the company. So this is where I am right now.
Wow. Okay. As you were sharing it, well, first, thank you for your honesty and for sharing that vulnerably, because I'm sure it's not easy. I was thinking about how, not just during the pandemic, but during certain times of, I'm sure, our life or just the life of the average American, we've gone through the recession, we've gone through COVID and quarantine, and how that really impacted a lot of people in their jobs, their socioeconomic status, their employment journeys, how people made a lot of changes, but how it can bring up a breadth of emotions, whether it is excitement because you're moving to a different or a new career, or whether it brings up anxiety because you're not sure what's next, or you may not know if you can even sustain what you're doing, or it can bring up, I don't know, maybe apathy because maybe you no longer want to do what you're doing. I don't know. In this process, you shared this is your fourth time actually experiencing a layoff. This is the second time with your current company, which we won't say their name to spare them the embarrassment. No,
I mean, a lot of people know, but
yeah, a lot of people know, but we can keep that to ourselves. But because this is your second time with this company, fourth time overall, what emotions did you notice were coming up? I noticed you said like negative emotions. What are some of those emotions that you're experiencing that are like the uncomfortable or unpleasant ones versus maybe the less or the more comfortable or easier to manage ones?
Well, I would say like this morning, specifically this morning, I felt overwhelmed because, initially when something, and I use the word traumatic because I'm not traumatized by it, because again, this is my fourth time being laid off, but the second time being laid off with this company. So it's a feeling of, okay, everything that you have been speaking, you've been talking about, you've been praying about, it's happened, it's here. And the negative feeling is, oh, I don't want to say it in this manner, but it's like, I got you. You didn't get that opportunity to leave on your own accord. We put you in a space where now you have to, everything that you've initially been praying for or / manifesting, you now have to do because you don't have that fallback. And I think that's the negative feeling that I'm feeling, is because I didn't get the opportunity to do it on my own accord. I am technically being forced to do what I have been praying for, or put in a space to do or get what I want.
Okay. I want to put a pin here really quick, or pause and kind of unpack this a little bit. I was not expecting you to say that. I was not expecting you to say, I'm feeling the negative emotions like overwhelm or anxiousness or even slight trauma, because trauma is literally, you weren't prepared for this. And so whether it's emotionally, physically, it can be a traumatic experience. That's your definition and experience. But I wasn't expecting you to say it's because now you are having to walk in the manifestation of what you've been praying about.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people would be able to frame it that way. We may see it as, woe is me, and what am I going to do? And how dare you, God? But it sounds like you're kind of like, well,
yes.
I've been praying for an opportunity like this, and now here I am doing it, not the way that I expected, but I can recognize that this is a manifestation of prayers. How did you even get to that point to be able to frame it that way and have that perspective?
So I'm going to take it back about a year, because it's actually a year. So last year around this time, I was experiencing some things within my company as far as communication. If you know me, or if you don't know me, or have had some form of interaction, I can be assertive at times, depending on what the topic is of that I'm trying to communicate, or I'm trying to have a conversation. And unfortunately, at that time, my manager and I were having communication issues. And part of it was the fact that we didn't understand how to communicate with each other. But I was also at a point where I was ready to go. Like, the job itself was not fulfilling to me. It was a job that I could do with my eyes closed. It wasn't giving me what I need to be successful. It wasn't helping me push, go to the next journey or next chapter in my career. And so a lot of that I guess, subconsciously start preparing for an exit. Because at that time I started looking at my resume. I started, really going through what my resume looks like, how do I want to show up, what my brand and all this other stuff. So I was already on that journey. And so, I think about a month or 2 months later, we went to, the National Urban League holds a yearly conference. And so I went to the yearly conference and I had some conversations and things like that. So that kind of just continued to push me to the next chapter, or what that next chapter could look like. So got a new headshot, updated my LinkedIn, put on I think it's open to hire on LinkedIn. So it was making me, or preparing me for what was coming down the line that I didn't know was coming down the line a year later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this has been a year of preparation and praying and just kind of positioning yourself. I love alliteration. So a year of praying, preparing, and positioning yourself, because not that you realize, okay, I need to make sure I'm doing this within a year's time, but the timing of it. You had a year ago the foresight, or even just the unction to say, all right, let me go ahead and start preparing myself for doing some of these things. Not because of, conflict in the workplace, or because of, difference of opinions, but because, and that was probably just a part of it, but another catalyst sounds like you were ready for a change, or you knew that you needed to be doing something different. That is also, I think, a part of your story that a lot of people may need to hear, because when we are in the midst of a situation, especially career-wise, because I've been there too, where I've worked a job where there has been conflict within the workplace. I have felt like I needed to be doing something different, wasn't sure when I was going to start, but on the back end, I was like, well, I guess I should start kind of preparing myself for that. If you're listening to the podcast, I want you to write that down. It's probably our first nugget, that you need to prepare, be praying and positioning yourself for what it is that you want to experience in terms of a change in your life. It's not going to happen by happenstance, right? You need to kind of show God, universe, the divine, that you are ready. You got your bags packed. And whenever they say go, you're going to be ready to go, even if it's in an unexpected way, which for you, Shayla, is through the layoff. So throughout your preparation, throughout the year, and then now up until this point, was this always kind of your approach to, or was this always your mindset and perspective when you would be laid off? Because you mentioned that this is the fourth one, right?
Yeah.
How would you have responded in the past?
Okay, so story time. So the first time I got laid off was back so when I worked for the current company, the first time I got laid off in 2007, and it was a shock, but it wasn't a shock because this particular company has a way of preparing for things. Okay. And so, they will bring on other third-party companies outside of the organization to assist. And well, maybe let me not put parentheses, because they do assist, because at that time I was helping with the call volume. So they brought another company, and the other company, I guess, was based off of their metrics, was performing at a good thing. So they decided to let my company go. And at that time I think I was sad. I don't even really think I was too sad, because at that time, I think it's the same feeling like, oh, okay, I am getting laid off. So I really didn't process that, because it was at the end of the year, and I was just so happy that I didn't have to work on Christmas. So that's how I felt. But then Also knowing that I was getting laid off, but I wasn't getting laid off without any money. So I had some time to kind of get myself together. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like, okay, this company's done this before.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And based on how they did it in the last time, that kind of gave you some perspective of what to expect this time. Okay.
Yes.
How do you notice it affecting you differently in this season than it has in the past?
So in the past, so the way that I grew up, or the way that I learned things, is tackling things by myself. When things happen, I automatically go into problem solving mode, because that's something that feels right to me, or unique, or it's a talent, I would say. And I put parentheses around talent because it's a gift and a curse. Yes, I'm able to, pick up the pieces and just kind of go at it, but also with that, it doesn't allow me to process what's happening, because I'm automatically in problem solving mode, and I don't take the time. Well, I used to not take the time to process what's happening to me, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or physically. And so at that time, I just said, okay, I've lost my job. Now I need to start looking for another job, which was a good thing, because on that second month, I was able to find another job and still have like an extra paycheck that I could pocket. So I was very fortunate with that. But even with that being said, from the company that I got the second job from, I was laid off from that company too. But I didn't see that one coming at all.
Yeah. Wow.
So that one threw me.
I'm sure. And when you say it threw you, what happened? Like, how did you respond?
Usually with layoffs, well, my experience of layoffs, because I can't speak for anybody else, they'll take you in a room and say, it's unfortunate, but we're going to have to let you go, and all of that other stuff. So I was like, okay, another one of those, this is happening to me. I'm not necessarily processed. I hear it. So it's not going all the way to the top. It'll stop like right here. But I'm like, I know it's happening. I'm here, but I'm not processing it. And again, I'm going into, I need to find another job.
Problem-solving mode.
I'm not processing how it makes me feel in my body and my spirit and things like that. So the good thing about that is that particular company gave me pay, but they also allowed me to have healthcare for 6 months, free healthcare for 6 months. So
nice.
That was a positive. I think outside of the third layoff, I've been successful, like at least getting, having an income or having some type of health insurance and things like that. So I've been very beneficial. The third time I got laid off, I didn't find a job as quickly as I thought. So I had to go on unemployment, which that was an experience too, because nobody wants to feel like they have to depend. Well, at that time, depending on people felt awkward for me and hard, because I like to do things for myself. I like to feel that I'm doing things for myself. And unfortunately, that's a learned behavior because of my upbringing. So it felt a little, it impacted my ego, but it allowed me to do some things that I wasn't able to do when I was working. So it was appreciative.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of want to go towards that in terms of asking for help and like being able to seek or receive support, not just, from federal or local programs and assistance, but from your community. How do you feel this has impacted the way that you show up or your community has shown up for you? Because we're in a similar and shared community. So I'm curious as kind of how this has also impacted that area of your life.
So I'm glad that you talked about it, because I was actually talking about, it was my bestie this morning. And the difference is asking for help. it's hard. If it's not something that you typically do, because, Teka, I'm typically the one like, it's going to be okay. I'm like the person like, always being a super, super positive person. So I don't think about it coming back to me because I'm just like, hey, you're going to be good. But then when situations happen to me, having to ask, it just feels weird. And I think, again, that also goes back to my upbringing because I'm the oldest of 3. So that having to ask for help has not been easy, but it has been appreciative because having that knowledge or that feeling or that support that, hey, when I'm having my issues, I know that I can openly come to you all, and of course, you're part of that community as well. But just being able to be vulnerable and say, hey, look, I don't have this, or hey, I need help, and this is the reason why. And just hearing I got you, that's hard. And even as I'm thinking about it, I'm trying not to cry because I'm not a big crier. I only recently have been comfortable with crying because that's not something that I'm used to. A lot of things that are happening now outside of this is being new, and just learning how to sit in what's happening to me has been a struggle, but a welcome feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. So it sounds like you've had to learn how to be vulnerable.
Yes, and that's not easy.
How to, oh no, well, I won't say never, but it never gets easier. But the more that you practice it, when other unexpected life circumstances, because life be lifing, come up,
it does.
You're able to tap into that vulnerability quicker or more easily because you're like, well, I see how that not benefited me, but how that helped me to feel seen, connected, how it contributed to me really making it through this tough season. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of shift that perspective to say, instead of having to be the oldest sibling, the problem solver, the one who's always supporting and consoling and comforting others, now I can say, hey, I need XYZ, or hey, I'm feeling fill in the blank. So yeah, I'm really excited that that's something that you're able to tap into. Yeah.
It is.
Wow. Especially as you are living this season. So this story, this chapter for you is evolving. And as it's evolving, I'm curious kind of what it is that you're looking for. What's an expectation you have, not only just of yourself, but of your spiritual guidance? Because I know that's also a part of the season for you.
Yes. So, people say that your words are impactful, or, watch what you say because, what you say can come back. And I think another feeling that I am dealing with is the impact of my words because, I do pray a lot.
Right.
And one of the things that I always talked about is I want a job where, I can take what I learned from my primary job and what I learned as, vice president of an organization, and that to be used in my next job. And just going back and listening to that prayer, I never spoke about it for the current job. Well, the now previous job that I had, I never spoke about it in that particular space. I always spoke about it in a future tense. Like I'm like, this job or whatever that job is going to be, I know that it's going to pull from this skill. I know that it's going to increase my monetary gain. I want this job to be an environment where I feel appreciated, that my opinion matters. So everything was always from a future. Like, I want this. And so now I have to I don't want to say find, but I do have to find or come across that environment where it speaks to me and allows me to flourish. Yeah. And so just knowing that, hey, I said, I'm going to be looking for another job in June. It's June. Hey, I'm not going to be working here, beyond 2020 2024. I said, or I said either 2023 or 2024, but here we are.
Oh, wow. So, here we are.
Yeah. So it's a double entendre.
But, literally.
It's one of those things that, dang, like, I am impactful with my words. You
spoke this into existence. Yeah. Yes. I'm a believer as well in the power of words. If y'all want to go to Bible study real quick, I don't know the address of the scripture, but it basically says that the power of life and death lays in the tongue. And so we have to be careful of what we say. And as you were speaking, kind of reminding me of an encouraging prayer that a friend dropped in one of our group chats, where it really emphasized the phrase, I am. And I had just saw a post or was listening to I don't know if it was like an Instagram reel or a podcast, but they basically said, I am it was an Instagram reel from the Know For Sure podcast. But they were saying that I am is basically a call to bringing something into existence. Because if you think about it, the creator, the I am, was the one, is the one who creates and calls into existence. And so as his heirs, as his friends, as his kids, however you see yourself, we are co-creators. And so even we have power when we say I am. So all those times that you were saying, like, I am going to have a job where I feel like my opinion and my skills and my gifts are seen and are valued, or I am not going to be at this position or this job past 2024, or I am looking forward to an increase in not only my monetary value from a job, because come on, God, bring the coins, but also I am, I'm looking forward to promotion, to elevation. So really you called all this into existence. There is power in the things that we say. So as you're in this current chapter, I really hope that you and us, your community, can continue to speak that life into your next season so that it aligns with all the things that you desire.
Yeah, that's the part that I am like, okay. I said I wanted a hot girl summer. Well, here we
She said, well, I guess I'm really outside now.
I mean, I don't have a choice, literally. That's another thing. Like, I still have a job as a part-time job. And one of the things that I did not care for was the fact that my primary job, I was working 11 to 8:30. And then my second job, I was working whatever I got off from that to 11.
Yeah.
And that was really weighing on me. And I had gotten to a point where I was like, all right, I am going to just rock through this. This is, just accepting the fact that this is not my time. And that, we're going to have to do something different. So I had to shift my way of thinking and just roll with it. There's still things you can do. You may not be able to see everybody like you usually do, but you can still make time. And so it allowed me to do some things that I haven't done in a while. I mean, plenty of times where we've had things on Sundays and I'd be like, all right, y'all, I will catch you.
You got to go to work.
I got to go to work. And then and then, out of our group, I had one of the earlier schedules. And so I'm like, oh, I got to be working at 7. So I'm like, I'm out. I gotta go. But I appreciate where I am through the uncomfortability that I feel, the happiness I feel, because I am going through different emotions. And I know that it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows, that there's going to come some times where I'm not going to be happy, and that I can call you and be like, I'm not in a good mood. And I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how you said that, you're experiencing both the discomfort and the happiness because of kind of what this opportunity has given you. And I'm saying opportunity because sometimes we look at things as like a problem or an issue. But if we can reframe it to say opportunity, it helps us to not tap into that toxic positivity, because I'm not for that, to say like, oh, there's a silver lining in everything. Like, no, this sucks and it's crappy and I'm uncomfortable because now I got to worry about XYZ. But like you said, it kind of allows you the opportunity to spend time with your friends more, or to really get some rest as you prepare for the next season. To be intentional about your self-care. Like, I've been in a similar situation. I wasn't necessarily laid off. I kind of pulled the plug. I quit. And, but I tell people often during that season when I quit my job, that was December 2019, and I was driving Lyft for a couple months. That was probably one of the best seasons of my life, but also one of the most uncomfortable, because I literally was exploring Richmond, meeting some really cool people and sometimes some sketchy people, listening to podcasts and music all day. But I was also able to really journal. I was able to get some rest. I made my own schedule in between my own shifts that I created for Lyft. I was able to take care of myself and just, do whatever I felt like doing. If I wanted to sit at the park and drink a smoothie, I could do that. But I also was like, okay, God, I have rent. I have a car note. I have electricity and I have bills. How is this going to get paid? And so I understand the discomfort there too, because we have to keep it real. Like, we live in a society where, as my mom would say, money makes the horse gallop. And so we can be both happy and also experience discomfort. So I'm glad that you shared that, because that's another nugget I hope that the listeners and watchers are picking up. Because a lot of times we feel like we should be experiencing one or the other. And that if we experience one and not the other, then there's something wrong. And that's not true. Duality is a real thing. And it's okay. You can experience more than one thing at the same time.
I agree. I know when it happened, I was like super positive, like, come on guys. And, and they was just like, Shayla, I know that you're trying to be positive, but this is how I feel. So I had to kind of, I don't want to say check myself, but I had to humble myself, because I'm looking at it like, yes, like this is going to be great. And my coworker was like, this is horrible. I got kids. And, we had a meeting after the meeting, but we also had a meeting the following day. And I apologized to my coworkers because I said, I did not acknowledge how you felt in that, like taking the time to just tell you all, oh, it's going to be okay, instead of just letting you all sit with what just happened. I took away I took away the feeling that you felt. Like, I made it small. Like, I minimized it. Yeah. I minimized how you feel by trying to make it possible, by trying to find a silver lining in the whole situation, instead of just allowing you to process and just be supportive. Yeah. So
that's good insight and awareness. Yeah. Because even though you are in a similar season to someone else and you're able to say, all right, this sucks, but I know that things are going to work out for me, or I'm looking forward to XYZ. It's okay to say to another person, I also can understand why you would be scared, nervous, stressed, overwhelmed, worried. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It was.
Oh my goodness. What a season. So one of the things, excuse me. One of the things that I want to make sure that we leave for our listeners is a word of advice or encouragement. So if there is someone that's in a similar position where they may have been laid off, or there's an unexpected change in their employment or their career, their profession, what is something that you would say to them or share with them?
Well, first, I would say that what has happened to you, it is traumatizing. Whether it's on a small scale or large scale, it's traumatizing. So before you start to go into problem solving mode, you need to sit with it. You need to sit in it, process what's happening to you. That means taking 24 to 48 hours, or taking a week or a month. Just process what's happening to you. And also let your let your tribe know that this has happened.
Yeah.
And so that's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
And then also acknowledge that you're going to have good days and bad days.
Yeah. Yeah. That duality.
Right. But on the flip side, this is an opportunity to start a new chapter based, a new chapter of you, like whatever the version of you that was before that ended with, a negative impact from a job. You now have time and space to become that person that you always saw in your head.
Yes.
So, taking the time to, what you spoke of, taking the time to actually exercise and all of stuff. Because that's one of the things that I really appreciated when I came back to my current or previous. I still play with the words right now, but
I know.
For right now until August, I'm still employed by them. So my current place of employment, I was exercising and I was doing a lot of yoga, like preparing myself. I was
little baby yogi.
I was, girl, my handstand was about to be real in these streets. But
you were like, I'm about to be a master yogi.
I'm telling you, I would have to say, even in this body, because I was in my 20s, I am currently in my late 30s, that for that time in my life, that's the best my body had ever looked because I was super, super active. And now I have the opportunity to go back to that. So I'm a little excited about that. But I think I've gotten off subject. But overall, this is the time to get back to your core self.
Yeah.
And to enjoy it.
I love it. Amen. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Well, I'm going to take a deep breath there before we move into our next segment. If you are new to the podcast, or if you forgot, our next segment is called GIFT. It is a gratitude practice. GIFT is actually an acronym. G stands for goal or gratitude. I stands for intention. F stands for faith or focus. And the T stands for take action. And so the reason that I do this every episode, and I hopefully encourage you to do this yourself, whether it's once a week or every day, is because gratitude helps us to shift our perspective and it helps to ground us. Sometimes life be lifing and we have a hard time seeing the forest for the trees. And so gratitude kind of helps to pull us out and observe whatever is happening from a different perspective. And so all that being said, I'll let you take some time to think, Shayla, if you want to do, I know you're going to do it off the cuff, but I'll go ahead and do my gift first.
Okay.
And so my gratitude, we talked about it during the podcast and that's what came to mind, but is opportunities, being able to shift my perspective or reframe problems or issues to opportunities to kind of just get back to me or get back to my why, get back to kind of like the root of why I am here in my purpose. So those opportunities, they don't come all the time, but when they do come, I'm really grateful for that. My intention. It's about to be a very busy weekend. My busy weekend started yesterday. It's a holiday weekend. We have Juneteenth on Monday and I'm hosting. And so there's a lot happening, along with me having to still work. And so I'm hoping and intending to find rest amongst the busyness. Because I can tend to kind of just go on autopilot, but I want to be intentional about resting amongst the busyness. My F, I'm going to choose faith today instead of focus. In faith, again, as we were talking, it reminded me of my life scripture, which this one I do know the address. It's Romans 8:28, which says, all things are working together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And so really believing and understanding that just yourself being a called person, someone who God sees and knows that he's making sure things work out for your good. It's not always going to feel good, but it's going to be for your good. So that's my faith. And then my take action is this top of the dome stuff is really interesting, but I'm going to implement the 3 P's I shared earlier that we were talking about in terms of praying, preparing, and positioning. I have a lot of dreams still and goals still that I want to accomplish and manifest. And so I like how you shared that literally, even if it was subconsciously, or in a way that you didn't even know you were doing, you were praying, preparing, and positioning yourself for this season. And so I want to take that and let that be my take action. Because things are not going to happen by osmosis or by happenstance. We have to make room and let God, divine, universe know that we have the capacity to receive. So pray, prepare, position. That's my take action.
Okay.
All right. What is your gift? What is your G? Gratitude or goal?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I am grateful for my community, my tribe, my girls, my family. My family and my family. So I'm very grateful that I have you all to kind of help me on this new journey. Yeah. And it was a grateful and
goal.
It was great goal. My goal is to take the time to really process what's happening to me. And even though I have a goal in my head, be okay with possibly not getting the goal at the time frame or the timeline that I want to get it.
Okay.
I
like that. Good. What's your I, intention?
My intention is to enjoy myself. I haven't really taken the time to enjoy myself outside of going to Grenada this year. I have been in a constant survival mode. And so I'm actually going to intentionally take my time and enjoy myself first.
Yeah.
And then enjoy my friends and family.
Yeah. I love that. I hope you embody that enjoyment. Yes.
Yeah.
What is your F, faith or focus?
These double entendres today.
I know, right?
Well, my faith is I'm gonna start with faith. My faith is to know that joy comes in the morning. And that I know that I'm going to find the role that's meant for me, the role that I prayed for, the role that I manifested. So I have faith with that because I am a praying individual. I'm a spiritual individual, and these cards are going to say something because I got cards in front of me. So just knowing that one of the things that I pray in my prayer is, God is my strongest tower and my weakest hour. And that he is the best leader that I could ever have. I mean, there's leaders, there are physical leaders, but my spiritual leader is always God first. So,
amen. I know that's right.
And then my focus would be my focus is still on myself. Like I give so much. Yeah, I give so much of myself that sometimes I forget me. And, I don't have any children, but I'm just a naturally giver and I don't expect anything back. So I am going to focus on becoming that version of myself that I've dreamed about, I have manifested. So that'll be my focus, at least for the summer.
I know that's right. It's a perfect time. It's a hot girl summer, a healing girl summer. We're here, okay?
A little bit of both. A little hot girl,
a little bit healing. Of both. And we can be both.
Yes.
Period. All right. And your T. What's your take action?
My take action is to be, what's the word? I'm trying to think of a word.
Mm-hmm.
To be great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To be gracious with myself. To be gracious.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Like because automatically you'll just get mad because things are not going your way. But as Shantae would say, she knows I have a love-hate relationship with the word grace. Because that word, grace, just side note, grace is a word that people use, but I don't think they really understand the meaning of grace. So my takeaway is to give myself grace and understand that everything is not going to happen when you want it to happen. But like the song said, he's an on-time God.
Yes, he is.
So that's my takeaway.
I love it. I love it. It's so interesting. This is a side note, but relevant. I like how you acknowledge that a lot of people don't really recognize what grace means, because it dropped in that, there's two things that I often say, like grace and mercy is chasing us every day. But grace is us getting what we may not deserve. And when I say deserve, I don't mean unworthiness, but I mean deserve in terms of like, we don't have to earn it. It's gifted to us. Yes. And so that means you giving yourself grace is not proving or making yourself kind of earn anything that you need to give yourself. Mm-hmm. So that is what grace is. It's saying, you know what? I'm worthy of giving myself the same love, affection, attention, intention that I give other people. And mercy is us not getting what we deserve, meaning we may have screwed up, messed up, missed the mark, and we're spared. There's some sort of protection around us where we don't get what we probably do deserve. So that's a little nugget for y'all. Write it down. Give some grace and mercy.
Yeah, because I got some mercy a couple of days ago. It was something that I wanted, but it did not happen. I was like, you know what, God? I've put the work in, and I'm trying to go back down a path that, even though it felt good, it is not for my good. And so I was like, okay.
That applies to a lot.
That's one of those things. Take with it what you may.
Take whatever it means to you. Yeah. But I agree, because I know God probably be looking at us like, can y'all, Lord, my kids, let me go get them. Like, I know he'd be looking at us like,
save you from yourself. I'm gonna save you from yourself.
Get your lives. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
All right, good people. So now that we've practiced gratitude, that was really enjoyable for me. I hope it was enjoyable for you, Shayla.
Oh, absolutely.
Yay. We're going to move into the next segment, which is called Vibe Tunes ATM. And ATM stands for at the moment. But ATM also kind of like where you can go and get it. Because if you're just joining the podcast or haven't listened before, there's a playlist on YouTube at HereWeAre Pod, where all of our Vibe Tunes that I and my guests have shared are on that playlist. So if you ever are wondering kind of what the vibes have been for different podcasts, tap in over there. But the song that you pull up or the vibe that you share doesn't have to necessarily be related to the story. It can be, but it also can just kind of be what has been your vibe. What's been a song you've had on repeat? What's kind of been the song in your heart, in your spirit? That is what you can share. And so for me, I can go first.
Okay.
Mine is, so Janelle Monáe just dropped her album, I think it was last Friday, called The Age of Pleasure.
Girl.
That album is like 35 minutes but it is literally an entire experience. It feels like one long song. It feels like, I was texting my friends, it feels like a dimly lit bashment, and bashment is like a Jamaican party with fog and good music and your crush or the person that you've been loving on and your girls all in Jamaica. It just feels like a mood. Yeah. And so the album itself is a vibe tune, but there's a specific song that I've been really liking called Know Better.
Okay.
And Know Better is basically saying like, you've tried other girls, you've tried other drugs, you've tried other drinks, you tried other dances, but you know better. You always gonna come back to me. You know it's me. You know better. You tried that. They ain't like me. You know better. And so that has been the song that has been on repeat, honestly. And the song on my spirit is Know Better by Janelle Monáe.
This is why we're friends, Teka. This is why we're friends.
Is your song from that album too?
Well, it's first of all, like you said, the album is man, girl, I pre-ordered it.
That's right. I pre-ordered like, I'm gonna be ready when it drops.
And I was like, in the price, I was like, oh, she wants me to have this, and I must oblige. But first of all, Janelle Monáe is a whole mood. She's a whole vibe. Oh my gosh. Love her. And some people try to shame her for her expressing herself, and she likes to, her pronouns, the way she has expressed her pronouns are she, they, and them. But she also said, I'm not going to say it because I think this is a family podcast, but she said, bad MFer. And I said, I felt that in my spirit. Okay. But her whole album, The Age of Pleasure, I understand why she has that album. But my song from her is not on her album, which I thought was crazy, but Float.
It is on her album. That's the first song. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it as a single. But yeah, so I think they didn't download that. But anyway, maybe. I like Float. And I just, and I literally, and it's funny, I just finished listening to it. I cut my TV off before we started, but Float is my song, followed by Eyes for Two. Yes. And Hot.
Eyes for Two. Oh, let me write all these down. Yeah. We're going to have the whole Janelle Monáe album listed on the
play. and Hot and Phenomenon. I like Hot. And Phenomenon is good. I think that's with Doechii. And
Phenomenal, yes.
Yeah. I like that song.
I love Doechii.
And Hot. And something about being in a jacuzzi. I can't remember the name of that song. I think it may be the same song. But
are you talking about Lipstick Lover? No.
I do like Lipstick Lover. And it's not because
me too.
I know what she's talking about, and I am an ally, but that song is still, I have to be specific because I mentioned the song and somebody's like, oh, I was like, I am an ally. I'm definitely here for everybody to a certain capacity, but I like Lipstick Lover because of the song, how free she is in that song.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Float.
All right.
Float's it.
We just gonna have all of her songs up there. Okay, so I'll do Float as your
Float is
vibe tune, but we just had to stand really quick for the album.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Y'all, if you haven't listened, please listen to Age of Pleasure and don't. I think it also shows us that we don't need to be in a box. Janelle, of course, she came out. We knew her for the black and white theme, the suit theme, but she let us know why she did that. It was paying homage to her family who worked as maintenance janitorial staff and had a uniform. So she had her uniform. But she also has shown us that those are eras. She's been Cindy Mayweather. She's been that electric lady. Yes. And now she is Janelle Monáe in The Age of Pleasure. And in her song, I think it was phenomenal. She said, there are 1,000 versions of me. Yes. And we're all fine AF. Like 1,000 versions of her. So I like how the album tells us that too, that we can be as many versions of ourselves and accept and embrace that. And really, it shows that she doesn't care if anyone else embraces it. So neither should we.
Yeah, I will admit, Dirty Computer kind of was the prerequisite.
It was. How did y'all not see it coming?
The Dirty Computer, and I like that.
I love the Dirty Computer. How did y'all not see it coming? I think because it was like that midway point between the very like oh, we're conscious. We're talking about the problems with the world. We're talking about how doomed we are. And here's my sexuality. Here's my free. It was like that middle ground. But now she said, all right, y'all just gonna get all sex.
Yeah. Basically, she's like, this is where I am. Either you're gonna like it or love it. I mean, she said, I like that. Whether you like it. I like that. Yep. That's one of my favorite songs too. So maybe Float and I Like That.
I Like That. Let's do
Float
those.
And I Like That. Yeah.
That's good. I love it. All righty. Well, Shayla, I really appreciate you, first of all. And I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you letting me know that you were down for being on the podcast, even though you were in the midst of this evolving chapter. You know, sometimes it can be hard to share our stories when we're living it. But I appreciate you being open and honest with that. And I'm sure the listeners and viewers have too. So, before we go, where can listeners find you online?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at my name, my legal name, not whoever, but it's my legal name, or on IG at Black Curvy Queen. Yeah. So I'm in my me. It's feel like me season, as Issa Rae would say. So you can follow me at Black Curvy Queen and watch me find myself.
I love it. Watch you flourish. Continue to flourish. Well, I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, good people. Thank you so much for listening to Here We Are, the Mindful Podcast for Millennials. Let's connect on Instagram at the Here We Are Pod, on Facebook at Here We Are Podcast with Teka, and as well on YouTube, as I mentioned earlier, at Here We Are Pod. If you're loving the podcast, I would really appreciate it and be so honored if you go ahead and subscribe, of course, but also rate and leave me a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Do you want to share your story as well? You have some feedback for Shayla? Do you have some questions? Email us at theherewearepod@gmail.com. Your story can inspire and encourage others too. I really appreciate you all for listening. This puts the podcast in front of those who need to hear it. It's aligned. Remember to breathe in the present moment right now. Take care.